So you guys are not allowed to walk the perimeter line and take video.
Perimeter line being where? Because our
This
perimeter
is
is like there.
this is under search warrant.
Yeah.
So CFIA has control of your property. They were gracious enough to allow you to access the house, and that's it. Okay?
Gracious to.
Like, you gotta understand from our position, we're separate property from the ostrich ranch.
Your property
Yeah.
is under warrant.
But why?
I'm not going to explain that to you.
Oh, okay.
Right now, I've talked to CFIA. They
Mhm.
said they've given you permission to access the house and nowhere else on the property.
Well, we have to access the garden. Like there's
We have a
harvesting
garlic-
that has
we have
to
a
happen.
garlic-
Drea Humphrey here with Rebel News, bringing you another story about great government overreach connected to the ostrich farm in Edgewood, British Columbia. But this time, it's not specifically about the farmers. I'm going to talk to you about what's happening to their neighbors ever since the Canadian Food Inspection Agency showed up here 2 weeks ago with a warrant to seize some of Universal Ostrich Farms and, of course, all of their flock behind me. The flock that, as I stand here on October 10th, has been healthy and asymptomatic for 270 days, but the CFIA says they must die because the avian flu swept through the herd last December. So currently, into Thanksgiving weekend, give thanks. The birds are safe and the cull is continuing to be paused as the Supreme Court decides whether or not the farmers have a case to pursue in appeals for the Supreme Court. But again, today I want to talk to the neighbors about the hell they've been living through since the CFIA and the RCMP showed up here on the taxpayers' dime. All right, so this is Allison Turnbull, Katie Pasitny's cousin, which means co-owner Karen's niece. And your mom lives over here, you're here often, and just there's so much to talk about with you. But let's start with the fact that you had to find out from your family versus anybody else about the warrant.
Yeah. I saw it on live stream, like getting delivered when they said we have 3 warrants instead of just 1. And then they said, I heard them like arguing with the cops saying that's not even Universal Ostrich Farm property. And they were saying, we'll clear that up with her later. We'll follow up with them later.
And did they?
No, never. It was very hard to get a hold of them. We only got a hold of them when we were already here. And when the cops had already talked to us and given us trouble for walking around in our place.
So imagine just like you guys watching that all unfold, but it's your property and you start to see this whole operation, the caution tape go up, and you were not given a warrant still to this date, really.
Oh, yeah, I was on the door when we got here. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what else happened when you came here, because I've been talking about the government overreach here. How were you treated when you guys arrived here?
So we had to go through a check stop here just to get in the gate, which took 30 minutes. It was like late at night, dark. And we had to stand in front of the headlights, and everybody was kind of thinking that we were in trouble, I guess, because it took a long time. We had to give our IDs. Like at first we were allowed to have our family come in and help us get set up and unload everything. And then the next day they were no longer allowed with us.
And so you get here and you're seeing everything you've been watching online in real time because you've been away. And then there's some things that you wanted to be able to do. You're learning, and your mom's learning, like, what does this warrant mean? How long is this going to go? We know that the cull is paused for, we don't exactly know how long. We're sitting here and waiting for the Supreme Court. So what's some of the conditions that's been put on your family, and how are you guys coping with that?
Oh, they said that the CFIA has been gracious enough to let us stay in the house.
So you guys are not allowed to walk the perimeter line and take video.
Perimeter line being where? Because our
This
perimeter
is-
is like there.
This is under search warrant.
Yeah.
So CFIA has control of your property. They were gracious enough to allow you to access the house, and that's it. Okay?
Gracious to.
Like, you gotta understand from our position, we're separate property from the ostrich ranch.
Your property
Yeah.
is under warrant.
But why?
I'm not going to explain that to you.
Oh, okay.
Right now, I've talked to CFIA. They
Mhm.
said they've given you permission to access the house and nowhere else on the property.
Well, we have to access the garden. Like there's
We have a
harvesting
garlic-
that has
we have
to
a
happen.
garlic-
The problem is we're the messengers, right? This
Totally.
isn't an RCMP investigation.
Yeah.
This is
No, I know.
CFIA.
Yeah.
So I spoke to the CFI lead and I said, Please inform me of what you've advised before I enter and have
Well,
a conversation.
yeah, the CFIA has never spoken to us ever.
Never.
I won't get into that because I don't deal with their communication channels.
Yeah.
I'm solely here because what I was told by
Yeah.
CFIA is that they allowed you access only to the house, not to walk the perimeter,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So
That's
very
fine.
clear
It's
cut.
nobody's explained that to us because we've never
I'm
spoken to the
happy to explain
CFIA.
it to you,
Yeah, that's all
right?
good.
These lines are very clear, and we have to ensure that nobody colors outside of them,
That's fine.
right?
Yeah, it's just if somebody defines those lines for us because we didn't know.
Well, when they say you shall only access the house and nowhere else,
But it said the dwelling. So
Our
we thought
lawyer-
this
our
5
lawyers
acres
just
is
said that
considered a
you can't
dwelling.
keep us off our land.
well, I'm not going to get into
Okay.
the legal optics of it.
Yeah.
I'm coming from the police perspective in enforcement of the CFIA investigation.
Yeah.
Where there's a search warrant on your property. So I'm not here to get into a conversation that's not going to work for either of us. I just want to explain. That's why I made some phone calls before I came in, because I'm not going to come in here misinformed.
Yeah.
The information on record from CFIA, they spoke to you guys. They said you shall only access
The CFIA
the
never
dwelling.
did, though.
Yeah, they've
And I don't
never-
know that, right?
Yeah.
they've
No,
never-
that's just me
no
clarifying for you that
Okay,
they've never
I
have.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Is that we've tried contacting, and she contacted Nicasso RCMP to get
there's-
information, but
And
nobody
there's
ever
a certain
responded.
communication channel you guys need to access, whether you use the family at the farm,
Yeah.
but there's a certain communication channel that has to take place. It can't happen between us. It needs to go through the CFIA. They are the lead.
Totally. Yeah.
Right?
And that we're not allowed to walk anywhere except for from the house through the driveway to my aunt's house. And that's as far as we're allowed to go. We got in trouble for walking around in the yard the other day. We're not allowed to harvest the garden. We're not allowed to harvest our garlic. We're not, like, we came here, it's time to harvest this garlic, and it's seed garlic. It's important to harvest it right now, or it'll set us back years, because it's years in the making. And now we've asked them even if we could harvest it while they're watching us. Could you just watch us harvest it? No, still no, not allowed to do that. And they've built roads all throughout that. There were never roads there ever before.
Oh my gosh, again, so much to unpack. I want to make something clear. The warrant is not an RCMP warrant. It's under the Animal Health Act. So it's CFIA's essential warrant. And so when you're being told, no, you can't harvest your garlic, what exactly is the reason, and who is the one making that call from your understanding?
The CFIA made that call because the RCMP said, oh yeah, we're pretty sure you can do that. We're pretty sure you can harvest your garden. Like, each one said that. And then when the CFIA finally did talk to us, which it took, 2 interactions with the police first, asking them to call us. Then when they finally called us, they said, nope, you can't harvest it, and you can't have anybody over. And like, no, just no, you can't walk around. You can't do anything on your property. First, we had to wait on the deck. We weren't allowed to get off the deck even.
Why are they saying that? Why can't you step foot in the garden? Do you know?
I think because the garden, where the garlic is it shows their operational, I guess, headquarters where they're sort of setting up. And so they don't want us to see what they've done back there, because they've built full roadways. That's sort of where they're set up. We can see them at night. We can see them all lit up. They travel all around. And so that we would have seen where they're operating.
So you're talking about the roadways that go sort of beside the hay that we see the officer sort of driving on and then sort of camping. So that's all been happening on your land, on your property. And again, you guys are not part of Universal Ostrich Farms. And then you're being told the CFIA, who's clearly untouchable, we don't elect these people, they're being gracious enough to let you in on your own property.
Yeah.
So much is wrong there. Now, let's talk about in general what it's been like for you guys as family and neighbors to see what's been happening here the last 10 months, your family trying to fight to save this herd and freedom and farming sovereignty with it, and even scientific freedoms.
Yeah, well, we've been involved in this since I was a baby. My family's all been ostrich farmers forever. My parents are no longer ostrich farmers, but were, when I was young, and now my aunt's always been, and we live next door. So it's just been, I started the GoFundMe for them. We've been involved very heavily since the start, and we're the nearest neighbors to the birds. So anytime that people say the neighbors don't support the birds, absolutely 100% the neighbors support the birds, because we're the neighbors. And we love these birds. We've known these birds forever. As soon as we come out the gate, we say hi to the birds. It's like, this is devastating for my family to watch. And anytime we ask to talk about this warrant that's been served to us, that's written for Karen and Dave, not for my family, it doesn't have our names on it, and it says Universal Ostrich secondary property, which it's definitely not Universal Ostrich property. It's separate property. And anytime we ask to talk about it with anybody, they say, the RCMP will say it's not our warrant, so we can't answer any questions about it. We can't talk about it. It's not our warrant. It's the CFIA's warrant. But then when we talked to the CFIA after, trying for so long, they finally called us and they said, we're not discussing this. We're not gonna get into a conversation about this. Nobody will discuss it. Like, who is supposed to?
Now, I had thought we had reached the end of the story of CFIA overreach and how it's impacting Allison and her family. But boy, was I wrong. On the way headed back home, I received more information from a reasonably distraught Allison, who had just been cautioned from a liaison officer, telling her that she should remember to first email the CFIA before entering her own mother's home for which she is staying at. You mean if she forgot her cup or something and left and had to go back and get it, she has to first run that by the state? Yes. And the RCMP liaison officer said, we wouldn't want the CFIA to authorize your arrest. He should have said your arrest too, because if you recall, both Karen, who is the owner of the farm, a co-owner, and of course the aunt of Allison, and Katie were arrested for insisting on caring for their birds up until the call or up until they got the stay, which is where we sit. This is madness. Allison tried to email as instructed the CFIA and says her email kept bouncing back. And eventually she was told from the liaison officer, who was off shift, to go speak to the officers at the front gate. After this interaction, Allison said she was in tears and couldn't believe what she had heard. First, she and her family had to continue begging until finally she was allowed in with a police escort and having her ID checked again. And the craziest thing about this all is that their property was not deemed this so-called danger zone until this past September, practically 9 months after the avian flu swept through the now healthy herd. The CFIA is a relentless mob on the taxpayer's dime. They will arrest farmers, they will separate the neighbors, and they will do this all with a smile. I'm Drea Humphrey with Rebel News, bringing you many updates on this ongoing standoff between the farmers and the CFIA at our special website called SaveTheOstriches.com. As always, you can find this report and all of the backstory to what's been going on here and leading to this standoff at SaveTheOstriches.com. That's also where you can chip in to help cover our expenses to be here, to come back here, to be your eyes and ears when the farmers do hear good or bad news about what's to come next.